All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Thanks for being with us from the Marble Palace here. We were going to talk to State Representative Donnie Copeland, but we're going to talk to State Representative Jack Ladyman first. He's stepped up to the table here because he's got some news about what's kind of been going on when it comes to the new revenue that might be coming in if they go ahead and do the internet sales tax, which I'm against. But State Representative Jack Ladyman, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Paul. It's good. Am I on?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Paul. It's good to be with you. And I appreciate you letting me come on this quickly. But what I want to do was share with you an idea that has come up just in the last few days. And what this pertains to is the internet tax. And again, you can debate whether that's a tax increase or whether it's a tax enforcement. But what is projected is that will bring in $140 million. Yesterday, some representatives, including myself, we had a meeting with Good Roads, and they have a proposal. Of course, they need some money for road repair, for just roads in general. And they are, one of the proposals that they have is a tax increase on gasoline at different points and different amounts. But their projection for needs is $147 million. In 2018.
All right, let's stop right there. So $147 million, that's their projection. I want to talk just real quick and remind our audience, because we haven't covered this at all. This is a new plan. We have State Representative Dan Douglas is behind a new bill to tax the 6.5% state sales tax on wholesale prices of gasoline. This would be a double taxation. That's their proposal, because we'd still be paying our gas taxes that we pay at the pump, plus the state going in for another 6.5%. And he's quoted as saying it's a revenue increase. I'm sure some will say it's a tax increase. So that's a whole other thing that we need to talk about. But so the Good Roads Foundation or whatever, this is a bill that's already been filed. And back to what you were saying about the potential new revenue from the enforcement of an internet tax or the new sales tax on out-of-state sellers, $147 million. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, Paul, you are correct. That bill was just filed yesterday, I believe, that the fuel tax that you were talking about. So if they need $147 million, we're projecting there's $140 million coming from the internet enforcement tax. I want to call it that rather than a tax increase.
Well, there are two bills. I mean, you've got Dan Douglas's bill, which would require the internet companies to keep track of what you buy and send you an invoice, send you how much you owe, and then the other one that sends the DFNA what you owe and what website you bought it on. And then there's Jake Files' bill, which is the one that has some constitutional questions according to Supreme Court precedent. I know Amazon's already agreed to collect sales tax. I'm sure everybody's happy about that. That's going to be a bulk of your money anyway. But it is right now. It's unconstitutional for the state to tax anybody that it doesn't have a nexus in Arkansas, and so that's a lot of out-of-state internet companies that don't have to comply with our jurisdiction. But anyway. At least that's the way we've been talking about it. But I do want to get to what you're talking about here, which is an offset. You're talking about taking the new revenue and and directing it somewhere. Actually, so it's not an offset. You're talking about taking it and putting it towards roads.
Yeah, there are constitutional questions and some other questions that will come up. But the idea here is Representative Rye has a bill that would take that $140 million that we would get from the internet tax, which is Senator Files' bill, I believe.
Yes.
But it would take that and it would put half of it into roads and half of it into an income tax reduction.
So that would be partly an offset. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So after we met with Good Roads yesterday, I talked to Representative Rye and I said, since the Good Roads Commission is projecting a need of $147 million, and this enforcement of this internet tax would generate $140 million, can we put all of that to roads and basically cover that need? And not only that, but before I forget it, if we put that $140 million to roads, there's a 4-to-1 match. So that's actually going to be more like $600 million because you got federal matching funds.
Interesting.
So
it went from a partial offset to no offset.
Actually, it's an increase in revenue to the state.
Yeah, no doubt. Right. I just meant if part of it was going to go to income tax reduction, now that's not the case. Right. Which but okay. So keep going. Well, I want to hear your thoughts.
I think we could do a lot with $600 million, and I think that's a possibility. But what we wanted to do was talk to a number of people. I've talked to some other representatives, and 3 or 4 of us are trying to talk this up, because there are a lot of ideas out there on how to use this extra money, and there'll be a lot more. I guess that's what we're here for. But
now, you voted against the internet tax, though, right?
I did.
Okay, so are you voted against it, which I'm glad that you voted against internet tax. So are you kind of thinking that if it happens anyway, that the money should be directed somewhere that's of use?
Well, Paul, I'm conflicted, because there's a problem with the bricks and mortar stores. They are at a disadvantage with internet companies, and that really needs to be fixed. When I was a mayor, I was close to that, and there were a lot of people in bricks and mortar stores that came to me and said, hey, we're at a disadvantage because we pay sales tax, internet companies don't, so we need to fix that.
So the disadvantage is what exactly? Is it just a dollars and cents thing, or what, we don't have a lot of time left, but okay, what do you think that is?
If I go to buy a $100 pair of shoes at a Walmart store, I have to pay the sales tax. Might be 9%.
Yeah.
If I buy that pair of shoes online, I can buy it 9% cheaper.
Yeah. Okay.
So I might buy it online just because I can save 9%. A lot of people will do that. So that's the disadvantage.
So it's just a price point.
Right.
Okay.
It's just the price. So they're going to lose customers to internet folks.
Yeah. So,
right?
but what about? I feel like, and I'll let you respond because we're about out of time. But if you think about the internet, my take on the internet is, we're using completely different infrastructures. Brick and mortar store, you police protection, roads, things like that. That's what and it's a local tax. Most of it, or a lot of it's a local tax or a state tax. But if I'm on my private property, private computer, private internet connection, private company, I'm not really using the same services that some of these other companies are. So.
Well, of course, Paul, the argument there, it's not my argument, but it's what I've heard a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Is if you're in a town, a small town, where you have no businesses and they're buying everything in a bigger town, say you're out in Brooklyn or Cache, and everything's being bought in Jonesboro, as an example, the city gets no money from that. But the citizens, they still need the roads, they need the police, they need the fire, and that all has to be paid for by the city. And if you're not getting that sales tax, then you don't have funds to provide those services. But I'm getting off the subject a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we've been debating here, and so I think it's a good debate to have.
Let me cover the point I really wanted to cover, is that whether you call that $140 million a tax increase or an enforcement, it's $140 million coming out of the pockets of people in Arkansas. It doesn't grow on trees. We talk about, well, that's going to be another $140 million. Where does it come from? It comes from people. It comes out of their pockets. So if we're getting $140 million from the citizens of Arkansas, we ought to use that to benefit them. If we're going to fix the bricks and mortar problem and enforce the law, well, then let's turn around and give that back to them, or help them in some other way. Everybody can support roads, so that's what I would propose.
State Representative Jack Ladyman, I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on and telling us about all this. In my opinion, it's government still tends to grow, and it's like, how much money do they need? Folks, we are out of time this first hour.